welcome back to my garden. Now, I'd been hoping to give you an update, some fascinating new insights that I'd gleaned from the book that I've been reading, and that I'd claimed on this channel that I would report back. The book in question, Transcend, by the American psychologist Scott Barry Kaufman, a sort of rebooting of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But the truth is, I can't give you an update because I haven't read any more of the book. I'm slightly embarrassed to say. It's true. And the more I thought about it, the more, I realized that that sort of slump in output or consistent positive action is present in lots of areas of my life at the moment. I'm not sure how it happened. It seemed to be that things have slowly unraveled since the COVID lockdown ended. Now, that was a long time ago, you will say to me, and it was. But the truth is, when I look, for example, at my little black book, I've spoken about it before on the channel, that tallies up the time I spend doing sculpture and art, well, those numbers have dwindled and dwindled, and at the moment, I'm barely doing an hour a day. I'm not sure why. But if I were to put a word to the state I find my life in at the moment, if we were judging things purely by productivity and a good use of one's time, well, it's not just a slump, I'm in a crisis. Now, I'm not in a crisis because my life is wonderful. I am still producing art. I am still working on my chess and making content that I share. Do a lot of people see that content? Not really, but enough to meet my aims, I guess, to engage with people. So in every possible way, my life is actually very good. Just I am wasting far too much time on futile activities, YouTube and the like. And it has reached crisis proportions. And when I was thinking that yesterday, when I meant to make this film but didn't for a number of good or not so good reasons. Well, of course, you say the word crisis, and these days, one of the classic content creator memes pops up, the Chinese ideogram. Is that the right word? Well, the two symbols in Chinese, ostensibly, because, I don't know, never checked this for sure, but I'm sure people are telling the truth. The two symbols for the word crisis in Chinese are the symbols for danger and opportunity. And people like talking about that. That when you find yourself in a crisis, it is because you're at some sort of extreme risk, but inherent with that is an opportunity to do something wonderful. And I thought about that because it's become something of a meme, and these memes, cliches, become part of our sort of mental feedback loops that kick in whenever certain words trigger us. And of course, when I thought about crisis being made up of these two words, I thought of another thing that I often dredge up as an idea. And that is how the world likes to paint things as being sort of in binary terms, polar opposites. And And so I started thinking about that. But, well, danger and opportunity are not polar opposites. Obviously not. And that led me on to another idea. And as you can see, this week's video is simply giving you a highlight reel playback of my muddled thought process. Well, I'm treating you, my dear subscriber, watcher, as an observer who can perhaps give me some feedback. I'm on the couch and you're in the cast in the role as psychologist. Anyway, danger and opportunity are not opposites. They have opposite sorts of connotations, feelings, moods. But then they're certainly not opposites the way that other words might be. Liberal and conservative, maybe that isn't so true. So in the political spectrum, it's very easy to think of things in terms of these sort of binary couplings. But danger, opportunity, no. And that's when it struck me that wouldn't they make a nice little graph? And I've discussed these in many different contexts. And the classic one that I often fall back on and is a sort of, I suppose, a core element in my personal life philosophy is the flow diagram, which is a mapping of on Cartesian coordinates of the difficulty of a task and the skill level you have in that area. But in that case, it's not Cartesian coordinates that go from positive to negative, but rather it's a quadrant that starts at 0 and then increases. And it struck me yesterday that danger and opportunity probably is something of that kind. What would negative opportunity actually be? I'm not sure. As I say, if you have a great idea, leave it in the comments. Not only can you be a psychologist, but you can patch up my fuzzy thinking in more logical terms as well. And similarly, what would be the opposite of danger? One can see the absence of danger, but what is negative danger? I'm not sure. So I'm going to stick with the crisis diagram being an X and Y horizontal and vertical axis that starts at 0 danger, 0 opportunity, and then heads out in both directions. And big crises would in that sense be where we have big opportunities and, great risk. And maybe that isn't what a crisis is. Maybe this whole analysis of the word is convenient internet mumbo jumbo, but doesn't really stand up to closer scrutiny. Or perhaps the problem is that when we talk about a crisis point, we have a negative connotation because we want to be at the opposite in the opposite corner of our quadrant. We want to be close to the origin. Or maybe we don't want to be close to the origin when we spell it out, because that would mean very little in the way of danger, but also very little in the way of opportunities. In a sense, our comfort zone. Sitting on the couch, or in my case, at my kitchen table, watching YouTube videos. Not dangerous on the surface, wasteful, yes, but dangerous, no, not really, and certainly not providing me with any opportunities, but very comfortable. Why do we want to be there? Well, again, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, and you haven't vehemently disagreed, perhaps it's because you do agree with me, because we have been corralled into that place. We have been lured in a very enticing block of cheese, and we are now trapped like a little mouse or a hamster on the wheel. Boy, am I mangling my metaphors today, but you know what I mean. And there might be other areas where we are in great jeopardy, danger, but there is little opportunity. And that is just a sort of imprudent lifestyle. A couple of videos back, I spoke about the very sad passing of Diogo Jota, and without passing judgment, it does sound like he, according to the local police, he was probably driving a bit faster than he should have. And that's danger, but what's the real opportunity by driving too fast or doing so many of the other self-destructive things that we do? And where would the opportunities be, or the life state where we are offered plentiful opportunities, but at very low risk? And I'm not sure about that. Perhaps my little Cartesian quadrant is doomed to failure. I'm not sure. But if I wind back to the state that I find myself in, I do feel like I've hit a sort of a ground zero in terms of the way I'm working and living. And I am in a bit of a comfort zone. And my life is still moving forward. But, well, very slowly. So perhaps I need to introduce some jeopardy, some risk, some danger. And not the sort of speeding type of recklessness, imprudence, but risk nonetheless. For example, one way of creating risk in my art is to make an announcement. Last year, I was in a bit of a slump, but the fact that I made an announcement that we are opening a gallery, and I set a date, and I published it, meant that, well, there was real risk, real jeopardy, and, well, a matching level of opportunity, and it paid off. That might be the takeaway for me from this video, that what I need to do in a number of areas is to start introducing or developing not just accountability in what I do, but a very real element of danger, a price to be paid should I fail to move in the right direction. Something to think about. Not sure whether that will fit in at all with transcend, and I will get back to that book. I know I will. It's on my bedside table. It's just unfortunately under a pile of chess books. But I'll get back to it, and I'll let you know when I do. Until then, it would be nice, certainly for me, if you have any comments or thoughts, if you pop them into the section below this video. So I would be very appreciative if you did. Otherwise, trust your lives are filled with joy, the right sort of danger and plenty of opportunities. Until next week from sunny Brazil.